8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Say like test 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're good, you're good, you're good.
to this.
Prior to
After this,
if
after
you
this,
have 100%, you get.
you're fine. Yeah, after this, if
Because
not,
these things last
feel free to
forever.
feel free.
No,
Yeah.
it's pretty old now, people. But,
Oh, but still, like the battery.
but you're
lasts
saying
forever.
there's no.
No, there is, but it's all the way down here. So you can't.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'll get you. It's
Presenter gets a black eye on the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's way down.
Just before the conference. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just recommend charging in advance.
Yeah,
and,
so
and-
if you give me the cable and stuff,
I'm just gonna look for
adapters.
an adapter.
there.
Let's try that one.
And good morning. I'm so glad we're here together. I'm so glad we have people joining us remotely. In the remote sites, it'll be so exciting. I'll do extra hand gestures for you. John, yeah? Okay.
Our annual Burnaby School District Professional Development Day. The overarching theme this year is inclusion, empower, embrace, engage. I would like to recognize and welcome the I would like to recognize and welcome our School District Board of Education Chair, Kristen Schneider. I would like to also recognize and welcome the Deputy Superintendent, Roberto Bombelli, Assistant Superintendent, Brandon Kerr, and Assistant Superintendent, Jeanette Larsu. Thank you for your attendance and support of professional development. My name is Yulia Sukhina-Volkova, and on behalf of the Joint and the BTA Professional Development Committees, I would like to welcome you to a day of collaboration and inspiration. We will begin our day with the local First Nations protocol. I would like to invite Elder Hualakton of the Squamish and Kwakwakw Nation to provide us with a welcome to the territory.
It's Friday! Osiam. I'm happy to be here, and what's going to be, how the day's going to be shaped. Thank you for the inclusion, and the inclusive, and it empowers me, and it empowers all of us. And I'm thinking of, we embrace this, and we walk together, we move together as one. And it's going to be an awesome day, just like today. I was happy to wake up 6 this morning and see this beautiful day coming along. And I think of one of our past ancestors who would share a song before the day would show. She would greet the day. She would greet the day and give thanks for all the things that we're going to receive today. What she sees, what she hears, what she feels, and she just takes that all in and gives thanks with her voice, and she sings it out to the world. And her name is Sukwalia, and Sukwalia will greet the day with this song. But what I want to do is I want to sing 2 verses of that, and I'll sing another 2 verses for the awesome work that's going to happen today. So, because normally we sing in 4s, so I'll do 2 and 2 to make it 4. Did I add that up right? Ahaya. Whoa, whoa, ho, 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 hey. Whoa, ho, 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 hey. Whoa, ho, hey. Whoa, ho, 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 hey. Whoa, ho, hey. Ah, yeah. OCM, on behalf of the Squamish and the Tsleil-Waututh Tooth and Stalo people, big welcome, and also thank you to the Burnaby School District for the big welcome also, and wish you all the best today and a great weekend. Okay, cheers.
Electon. Thank you, Electon. Oh, this is. Thank you very much, Elder Electon, for your warm welcome. Now I would like to welcome our Superintendent of Burnaby Schools, Mr. Kerem Hashlev. This is our first day of professional development with a new superintendent. However, many of you have already met him, as in his first few months, he made it his mission to visit every one of our school sites. Please welcome Kerem Hashlev.
Good morning, everyone. John, am I okay for sound? Okay. As was mentioned, really excited. My first district professional development day in Burnaby Schools. And in fact, I am nearing my 1-year anniversary. So first time to talk to the entire group of teachers is quite exciting. Coming in this morning, a bit of a funny story. I was informed last night that presenters and speakers could park in the parking lot just up here, to which I was greeted by some fabulous students that had a clipboard, lots of sheets of paper. And they asked who I was. I said, Kerem Hashlev, superintendent, and they did a thorough review on that list. Cars are getting backed up behind me, and the student looked at me and said, "You're not on the list." So, negotiation time. I said, would you allow me to park and I will come and just see if I'm on the list, and we managed to work things out. So, I'm lucky to be here. It is a true privilege to talk to you this morning. I want to begin by thanking and acknowledging Willacton again for starting our day in a good way with the recognition of the traditional and unceded territories we're here today. And the theme of inclusion is really important for our district. The words empower, embrace, engage are powerful words indeed that carry deep meaning. As was referenced, I want to just take some time to make some further acknowledgements. Personally thank our board chair, Kristen Schneider, for being here today. And over the past year, I've had a tremendous time working and collaborating with our respective employee group presidents. So I too want to acknowledge QP Local 379, Paul Simpson, Alex Peters from the BTA, and Mimi Lim for the Burnaby Principals and Vice Principals Association. Now, I'd be remiss if I also didn't take some time to recognize we're here today, and all the time behind it to create this event takes months and months of planning. And so I'd like to recognize the Joint Professional Development Committee for their tremendous work this morning in creating this event. And I think they deserve a round of applause. By extension, that committee organized, and if you've taken a look at the agenda for the day, really a tremendous range of presenters and presentations. And very impressive to consider the internal capacity and expertise we have across our district to support us with our learning. In taking a look at the vast range of presentations, they go from inquiry-based learning, presentations, customized to meeting the needs of students and meeting them where they're at, creating connection and community, digital literacy skills, sessions focused on numeracy and literacy, all encompassing our commitment to inclusion. A day intended to empower everyone in this room, a day intended to embrace our diversity, a day to engage with one another and learn from one another. And I do want to just extend to the Joint Professional Development Committee and Alex Peters for giving me a few more minutes this morning to go beyond perhaps a traditional introduction and take some time to share some remarks as well on my experience thus far. I've been thinking a lot about those three words that I referenced, and in my own career, the practice and term inclusion has evolved significantly over the years. And I'm thinking about a term that really resonates with me, one that I've heard Shelley Moore use quite a bit, which is communities of inclusion, and where we're striving to be, where students, staff, parents learn from each other's identity and diversity. Inclusion, as you know, is one of our core values in Burnaby schools, and that will not change. It's about belonging, embracing diversity, equitable access to education, and making everyone safe to learn. Okay. Just going back to the land acknowledgement and our cultural tradition, I've been impressed this year where individuals have gone beyond our land acknowledgement and created personal connection through story to talk about the meaning of the land we're on, the connection it has for them, and ultimately exemplifying communities of inclusion. And I'd like to do the same. This past year, we acknowledged the installation of 2 welcoming poles, additional welcoming poles in our district. You may have noticed the first one on the left is in fact right outside here at Burnaby North. And it was great to walk in to see the sunshine on it this morning. The one to the right is actually a reinstallation of a welcoming pole at Edmonds Community Centre, and I had the honor of attending that ceremony last spring. These events create deep meaning and show our commitment to inclusion. They show our commitment, in this case, to Indigenous education. They show our commitment to Indigenous student achievement. You may not be aware, but a few months ago I received an update on the great work this district has done around supporting Indigenous student achievement. Now, as you know, we have lots of metrics that we look at to gauge student success. But this one carries deep meaning. It carries deep meaning because we ask our kids, and at grades 4, 7, 10, and 12, we ask them, our Indigenous students, do you feel safe? And they reported that they do. In fact, at all grade levels, almost near or in some cases exceeding in grades 7 and 10, they shared greater feelings of safety than their non-Indigenous counterparts. That's significant, and you probably know where I'm going. That evidence already informs us on how students will achieve. And in fact, last year, our school district had the highest to date ever student achievement when it came to our Indigenous student success rate for grade 5 and 6-year graduation rate. That takes everyone to accomplish. And over the last 3 years, that gap has steadily gone like this, with more work to do, but tremendous work by the employees in our district and the collective responsibility we take. Shifting gears to just the engagement, it's been really neat for me to come into the school district where I knew the board was concluding and the district was concluding its 5-year strategic plan. And we were setting the path for the next 5-year blueprint. What was exciting about that was I would have the opportunity as superintendent to hear from the district and the district-wide community on what was working well and where were there areas we needed to continue to focus. The engagement was tremendous. Thousands of people participated, whether it was through surveys, interviews, focus groups, and we heard a lot of great input that is going to inform the future for our district and how we shape it. So I want to return the favor and share just some highlights of that. On the screen there, you see just some of the elements that surfaced at the top of what's working well in Burnaby schools. And as the newbie or the rookie, you know this better than I do. Diverse programs, central to Burnaby schools. I shared this in my interview. I recall how impressed I was with the range of programs that this district offers. In other words, something for everyone. Community engagement, strong partnerships, and I mean this like nothing I've seen before, stemming from a community school model and beyond. Truly impressive. Collaborative culture, a family-like atmosphere, dare I say the Burnaby way, and progressive approach. Recognize leadership and anti-racism, equity, and professional development opportunities were just some of the comments that surfaced to the top about the work we're doing in Burnaby schools. And particular themes that emerge, noting great work, but we can't ultimately let our foot off the gas. At the top, curriculum and educational innovation. As I said, we are making great progress, but there are still gaps that we need to address and include and continue rather our focus on literacy and numeracy. Equity, diversity, inclusion, and reconciliation. Again, we are putting that work at the forefront, but recognizing we still have more work to do to address systemic barriers. Enhancing support for diverse learners, our focus on inclusion, as was mentioned, remains paramount, yet we still want to focus, as you all know, on all the interventions, early intervention supports to keep doing better. And staff recruitment, retention, and well-being. You've heard that staff showed an appreciation for the positive and collaborative workplace culture. And in my 11 months, I certainly have seen that firsthand. But at the same time, as you know, we still have some challenges when it comes to staff shortages. We must remain committed to supporting staff well-being and the need for inclusive hiring practices. Shifting gears to just share a few stories, and I must admit a tough time, as was noted. It's been a real privilege to, and actually in a week from now, I will have had the opportunity to say I've been in all our schools and programs at least 2 times, which may not seem like a lot, but this district is not small when you think about Suncrest on the border of boundary on the south side all the way to the hills of University Highlands and everything in between. We have a pretty awesome district that covers a lot of geography. This picture behind you was an opportunity, an invitation I had recently to attend South Slope Elementary for their Literacy Week and read to a group of primary students. That was the easy part. And they peppered me with questions for 15 minutes that I swear the board interview was easier. Pretty awesome. Every visit, ultimately, and I kid you not, has left me with such a powerful learning experience. This past week, just nearby Burnaby North, I was at Aubrey Elementary and had the honor of attending their Pink Shirt Day Assembly. And I'm driving home. They had a number of great student performances. And a small yet powerful saying an elementary student was delivering up at the front of the gym. And he said, "There's no such thing as being too kind." Those are the little nuggets that you walk away and they remind you of the work we're doing. The number one question I still get asked from all of you when I have the pleasure of visiting, whether it's inside the classroom or outside, is how are you liking the school district? I thought about that. The first thought came to me and was, that's a bit of a leading question. Nevertheless, I have been unwavering, and I want to share with you all this morning. I have absolutely loved it, and I need to share with you how privileged I am to be your superintendent, and thank you for the welcome you've given me. I'll end today with just a couple of stories. These are stories I attempt to bring to the Board of Education every month to just show a snapshot of the great work we're doing across the school district. And while this was an event that took place that I'll speak to in a moment, it really was emblematic of a number of things I see across the school district. You may have heard of the event Burnaby's Got Talent, and I had the pleasure of attending this at the Michael J. Fox Theatre last spring. And I understand it was just brought back last year after a few years of a break. Well, this is an event that students across our secondary schools organize and showcase the amazing talent. It was jaw-dropping, truly, to see the amazing talent we have in our district. But it reminded me of a key principle, which is every student has talent. And I've seen that whether through the amazing performances and assemblies throughout the school district. This was just one example of so much great work in the school district. I'll end today with one final story. This was another presentation where it was showcasing, in my view, what building communities of inclusion looks like. Unified Basketball is a program that teams up students with disabilities or diverse abilities with neurotypical youth and athletes. Unified Sports is a model that follows from the Special Olympics, which promotes social inclusion, integrates individuals with and without intellectual disabilities, and really provides the opportunity for sport and competition and all the wonderful attributes that come with sport. These pictures are showing you our first ever unified basketball program in the district, which happens to be at Burnaby Mountain. The program there includes students from the senior boys and senior girls basketball teams and educational assistants, working with students from the Access program and students with physical disabilities. Of course, you have your coaches, which include staff and students, support from parents. And last May, the team had its first game and is looking to expand and compete against other schools in our district and across districts. Empower, embrace, engage. Powerful words indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kerem. There are a lot of things that are happening in such a big school district as ours, and we really appreciate your leadership. Now I would like to welcome our new BTA president, Alex Peters. Alex is a kindergarten teacher, and she has been working for many years supporting all our BTA members. There are lots of things that are happening behind the scenes, and you might not be able to see it. But it would not be an over-exaggeration if I say that Alex has been doing a lot to support all of us. Please welcome Alex Peters.
Hello, I want to welcome everyone and thank you all for coming. This is the first time we've all been together in 5 years, and it's wonderful to have everyone all at one site again. This is our chance that we see friends and former colleagues from around the district, and it's a really great learning opportunity for all of us to be together. So I hope you enjoy your day learning with your colleagues. One of the reasons we are here today is because in 1972, after years of advocacy by BC teachers, the school year was lengthened to include 5 professional days in the school year. These days were added without additional pay, so we as teachers could have time throughout the year to improve our practice, hone our skills, and stay current with changes related to teaching and learning. So of these 5 days, one of these days is the October PSA Day, where teachers, through their PSAs, plan conferences for their colleagues. And this is where I'm going to put in a plug for my PSA, the Primary Teachers Association. Although there's also Burnaby teachers on the executives of many other PSAs, including the Anti-Oppressive Educators Collective, the Intermediate and Middle Years teachers, as well as the Business Teachers Executives, and probably many others as well. 3 of these days are school-based days, and they're planned by your school's Pro-D committee, who are given the huge task of meeting the needs of all the teachers at their school. So thank you to all of you who are on your school's Pro-D committees. The 5th day is today, our District Pro-D Day. The planning for this day starts in the spring. The Joint Pro-D Committee, which includes 4 teachers, 2 principals, and 2 board office reps, plans this day with a great deal of support from the 9 other members of the BTA Pro-D Committee. And all of the organizing for this day is done by volunteers. So thank you for all the time that you've spent planning this day. And I know how much work they put in because I was on the BTA and joint committees for over 10 years. And I even brought my 3-month-old son with me one year to help run the presenters table. So if you were at Taylor Park for the 2014 Pro-D Day, that was my baby hanging around the office. I want to thank all the teachers who are presenting here today for the time you've put into planning your workshops and your courage in sharing your knowledge with your colleagues. So whether you're a Burnaby teacher or you came from Vancouver or Squamish or Coquitlam or Rock Creek, we appreciate you, and this day would not be possible without you. I also want to thank the staff at Burnaby North. You've gone out of your way to help organize the school, help set up the classrooms for the presenters who are going to be using your rooms, and just trying to help the committee with how the school can be run and organized. I also want to encourage everyone here to consider presenting next year. Consider what you do in your classroom or as part of your practice that you could share with your colleagues. Thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Alex, for your words of inspiration and encouragement. And now, I would like to welcome Dr. Leighton Schnellert. Leighton is an associate professor in UBC's Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy and Eleanor Ricks Professor of Rural Teacher Education. His research interests, among others, include inclusive education, literacy, community research, metacognition and learning, and teacher professional development. His scholarship attends to how teachers and teaching and learners and learning can mindfully embrace student diversity and inclusive education. Dr. Schnellert has been a middle and secondary classroom teacher and a learning resource teacher in K through 12. His books, his films, and research articles are widely referenced in local, national, and international contexts. A lot of you know him as he has been working with so many teachers in our school district in the past 25 years. Please welcome Dr. Leighton Schnellert. Good luck.
Readjusting. Great to see you. You all look very attractive this morning. I see someone else's notes are still here, so I could just give the first talk again. Here we go, feel the excitement. Hi, my name's Leighton. Hi, everybody. I know a lot of you, so my apologies if the jokes are the same jokes. I'm still the same person, but I'll try to tell them slightly differently. I also noticed we have 2 different lighting situations on either side, so you choose whatever lighting you like best. And John, I will try to talk at an appropriate speed because I know the echo is not terrific, but thank you to our interpreters for doing their best to work with my sometimes non-linear approach, everybody. But I got a little bit of nervous excitement and I've got a job to do. Okay. I need a password, people. There's a lot of things going on. Okay. Oh, that was really fortunate. There's a lot of possibilities about what could have come up on the screen just now. I'm going to take the mic off. I have a lapel mic on because some folks. Hi to peeps in the theater. Hey, the theater people. And this mic is for them. And the slides are almost identical, but not quite. So we have a John on this side, and we have a John on that side, who's our student tech person who is running the slides and trying to press them at the same time as me. If you know me, linearity is not my gift. So good luck, John. Okay. Oh, people, let's just work this out now. Yes. All right. So friends, colleagues, friends, colleagues. If you just met me, we're now frolics. I've been hanging out in the district for a long time, friends, from my SFU days. So I do also want to honor my good friend and mentor, Métis scholar Dr. Vicki Kelly, who's sitting here with me today. Vicki, it's so good to be back together. And we worked together at SFU. So I was around for about 9 years at SFU, and then I was at UBCO, where I taught Tiana. Where are you, friend? In the theater? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so peeps in the house. And then I've been at UBC Vancouver for 7 more years, so I'm 11. And I'm very happy to get us warmed up. So here's your beginning. I'm going to encourage us, no educator left behind. So there's just a little tiny turn and talk moment. So if you see somebody alone, just check in and scoop yourself in to have a little chat. But I'll explain what we're doing. You need to think about the week that you've had, everyone. And which of these best represents the week that you've had? And so, you ready? You have 3 minutes. Share. And welcome back. So here we go. Let's see where we're at. Theater folks, I'm inferring a similar spread. Here we go. Where are my ones? Yeah, you're nicely spread out. And I have already received some of those looks from you in the 1 minute I've been up here. Like, stay in your time. Where are my twos? Yeah, oh, the twos are all at the front. They're like, if I don't sit at the front, I'm going to fall asleep. Where are my threes? Oh, threes. We just need to take you for a walk in nature. Right, it's just like, fours? Oh, fours. Congratulations, you're still teaching. Right, it's just like, it's only February. Fives? Woo, fives. You know when they say, let's get an extra coffee pot for the school? Like, that's the fives, which are just like, how am I going to get to 3 o'clock? Okay, sixes? Who had a 6 week? Oh, sixes. I am going to love you up today. I am just going to be like, we can do it. We're here together. Okay, sevens. Who had a 7 week? Yeah. 4-day week. Yeah, sometimes, like, you're just like, I will get through this because I have no choice, right? And then, eights. Oh, you wise eights. You are just like, of course it's like this. Like, this is how it goes. Like, yeah, I saw Barsky had an eighth. Okay, where are my fellow nines? Oh, friends, Yulia, I'm a 9 almost every day. Like, almost every day, I'm like, is this the lesson I planned? Are you in my class? Why didn't I plan my lesson last night? Like, why? Why did Survivor be how was it my whole evening? Okay, you with me, everybody? So, it's a practice of social emotional learning. Right? We're collecting ourselves together, and no matter what happened in our evening or our day, whenever we're doing this, we can come together and we can be okay because however we are, it's okay to be that way. All kids don't come in like, yes, Mr. Schneller. Some kids are like, how far away can I sit from you? And you haven't seen my energy yet, people. I have a lot of energy. But what we do know is, like, when we collect everyone together and, like, it's however you're here, I'm so glad you're here, and let's get grounded. It's the zones of regulations with owls. Sorry, that was meant to be a good joke. It didn't land at all. But it's a chance to check in. But we do know if we can start our week or our day or our secondary folks, our period together with just a little something we're like, human? We're more likely going to go because the kids or the students, right, they know that, oh, we're in it together. It's not just like we're doing something. It's like you're in it with me, Schnelly. That's what they call me in secondary, is Schnelly. You're welcome. This is all the humor I have. Especially when I know, like, 11% of you, there should be like 11% sympathetic laughing. So there's our welcoming ritual. We're going to focus on engaging strategies because that's what we do, right? SEL is really about, like, how do we engage in learning where we can hook. That's kind of our theme. But then we also, I just want to just do a little plug-in for optimistic closure. How we begin and how we end is really important. And how the lesson actually went is just going to be how the lesson went, everybody. But if we can start in a way like, I'm so glad you're here, we're in it together, and if we end on an up note, which is, I'm so glad we did some learning, I really believe in you, kids will come back knowing you believe in them. whether or not you mastered all of the details of the 4 types of chemistry reactions, which is my area, everybody. I'm like, we need 4 types of reactions today. We got through 2. My job is not to say, kids, we only got through 2, it's your fault. It's more like, we got through 2. What were they? Decomposition and neutralization. I feel that you have something. If we can engage to begin and end in a way that kids know that we believe in them and what they've done, they'll come back tomorrow saying, what's next? Versus, oh darn, we didn't get it done. It's like in my heart, I'm like, we didn't get it done. But like tomorrow, I'm doing single and double replacement reaction. It's actually pretty clear. If I didn't get my lesson finished, anybody? Anyone? Anybody not finish what they planned this week? The good news is I have what's planned for the next day. Like literally, I'm like, we'll recap. Like remember neutralization, remember decomposition, things broke, anyway, they broke apart. Okay, with me friends? Also, if you're like, I can't make a collection of owls for every class, the Castle website has a collection of strategies in each category. And so, you can make your own, but you can also just find something. Are you there with me, everybody? It's just really nice to be able to think about, we start in a way that collects everybody, and we end in a way that collects everybody. And that's literally what we remember, not just in our hearts and our minds, but in our bodies. We remember that, yeah, we got somewhere, even if we weren't all there the whole time. With me, people? And I don't just mean with our bodies, but sometimes with our minds. Okay, so here we go on a little dance through. I'm going to basically summarize lots of research in single slides with pictures. You're welcome. That's my job. So back in the day, folks, none of us were born, but when North American schooling was first hatched, can I call it hatched? It was based on a European model of transmission. It's very tricky, everybody, because transmission-based teaching doesn't typically stick. So telling people something they're supposed to think doesn't really last, even if you're orange and look like a Cheeto. Picking up this reference, everyone? Telling people what to think, telling kids what to think, doesn't have any long-term depth. In fact, see the image? There's no roots in it. Now, so here we have like a system that's based on transmission that doesn't have... Anybody else memorize stuff for a test, write the test, and can't remember what it was? Anybody get degrees in this room? Yeah, like literally. Alex, think about some of those where you're like, well, I did really well in that course. I hope no one ever asks me about it again. Now, as much as I'm knocking transmission as not having great roots and sticking, there is also a place for direct instruction, everybody, to learn some foundational things. It's just it can't be everything because it doesn't stick. So I'm not here to be like, don't do these. I'm like, think about how they fit together. Okay, ready for number 2? Anybody ready for number 2? It's going to be a long hour, everybody. We are going to bond frolics. The second one, if you don't want to work with generative, it's because I'm secretly leading us to a word that we all know. Another word you might, if you think of transmission, do this with me, people. If transmission is that kind of teaching, yeah, I'd say that generative is this kind of teaching, like a handshake, right? It's transaction. It's transaction. We're going back and forth. We're sharing. It's collaborative, but I still know where we're going, right? I'm like tricking the kids into thinking they came up with it when really we know where we're going, but they're creating it. With me, everybody? The fancy term for that, everybody, is constructivism. You're welcome. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of like, oh, look where we're going, but let's get there together. Now, constructivism has really great outcomes. Right? Because you're helping kids get somewhere, but they're talking with a partner about it, and they're trying it out with a manipulative, but you're still doing proportional thinking. Like literally, it's leading to fractions. You can do whatever you want with those Cuisinart rods, but they're really about fractions and comparison. And you can represent them with a fraction, and with some decimals, and with some percents, and even a ratio. Yes! Kids are like, I think these are all about comparing. I'm like, really? That's so cool. I do know that. But it's just taking the same information and doing it in a way where kids get to come to it with my support versus me just telling them. Now fasten your seatbelts in your uncomfortable chairs and bleachers. The people in the theater are like, we made the right seating choice right now. But they don't get the same like live spittle opportunity. Like, okay, so let's go to transformative. The thing about transformative teaching is sometimes you don't know what's coming. Sometimes kids are learning things you didn't expect. And get ready for this one. Sometimes kids know more than you know, and they might transform you if we just give them a chance to bring in what they know. You with me, friends? And so a transformative approach involves, like every now and then, kids get to say, here's something I learned, or here's something I'm proud of, or here's something I want to work on. And maybe it's not even what you teach. You're like, oh, you have a goal to become a better writer, and I am teaching you math. And I'm like, that is so cool. Let's see how we can work that in to someone else's class. That was meant to be funny, but it didn't land as well as I thought. Is my mic too far? But a transformative approach is also grounded in the place that you're in. Transformative teaching is, I'm connected to this place or this community, and I can contribute to it. Right? Transformative teaching is, I have some responsibility, and even if I'm 11, 17, or 4.5, like literally, think about September. 4.5. I learned not to wear textured shoes at the beginning of kindergarten because they're touched all the time and they don't look good by like October. And then the rain comes. Anyway, I digress, only to say transformative teaching is connected to your place and helping kids feel like they can make a difference in their place, in themselves, and in their learning. You with me, friends? It's just a chance to try something now and then. It's like it relates to something and I can make a difference and I don't have to wait till I'm my dad's age. You're like, should we laugh now? You are really building your reciprocity, everybody. He's going to talk, we're going to laugh, it's going to be great. Okay, friends, before we leave this one, can I just point out the three go together? Does that make sense? Like we're going back and forth between the three all the time. But if we can just set ourselves up with this kind of transformative orientation, it also makes space for us to think about welcoming kids as whoever they are and not changing them to be like us, but helping them to grow into their best selves. It's like a flourishing approach. I am not here to take you out of you. I'm here to support you to grow to be your best you. It's kind of like SEL. Also, it's hard if the kids aren't just like you. Do you want me to say that one more time? It's sometimes hard when the kids aren't just like you because you don't know them. And so it really shifts us from, I totally know what you need, to I can't wait to see what you need and I'll adjust my teaching for you as we go. It's just a welcoming approach. Okay, so I'm going to try and zip through this one, but I can't help myself. I have to share it. So there was some really cool research done in Canadian research. I will be only quoting Canadian research from here on in. I could go on a diatribe right now, but it's also just good to anchor ourselves, right, in our context. So this research, kids in grades 6 through 12 across Canada, it happened over several years we did this research. It was called, What Did You Learn in School Today? Consider the responses. Anyone? You initially, but you just, if you're a teacher, you wait it out. You just ask 3 more times, what else did you learn? Still nothing. What else did you learn? Something you taught me. What else did you learn? Everything about math that involved Cuisinart rods. Yeah. So when the results came out, and Wilms is in the eastern part of Canada, Sharon Friesen's at University of Calgary, and then Penny Milton's somewhere called Toronto. But anyway, across this research, what was learned was, first of all, kids really want to see how things are connected together. It's really hard to be like this and this and this. They're really interested in like what goes with what. The second is kids really want to feel respected. like you believe in them, and that you're like, huh, what an interesting idea that I don't understand at all right now. It's really hard not to correct a kid, isn't it, everybody? Oh no, it should be this. But you really got to build like, huh, such interesting thinking. Tell me more. Still interesting thinking. Can you show me what you mean? Are you in my class? But if kids engage with you and feel like you're engaging with them, interested in what they're offering, they feel respect in terms of what's going. Okay, next one, opportunities to solve real problems. Like, we're really seeing this. Part of our theme is engage today. It's like where's something that like you apply it to something. Getting to learn from people in their community was of real interest to them, and then also feeling like they can make a difference in the world, right? Which is really important. Folks, we need hope. We need hope. And can you imagine the conversation? If the conversation about the orange Cheeto is happening here, consider what's happening in people's homes right now. It's not a hopeful conversation all over the place. And then they want to connect with experts, and they also just want more opportunities to like talk about things with their friends / neighbors. So here's my example. You ready for it? Just say yes at this point. Like literally, it's going to roll. So soon to be revealed, you're going to see my parents in a future slide. But my mom was single at 65, and both my parents are blind. And my mom's seeing eye dog, it all fell apart, and they took the guide dog back. And so my mom in Edmonton didn't have a guide dog. She got a new guide dog. She goes to Oregon because she doesn't believe in Canadian guide dogs. A long story. So anyway, mom comes to visit me. I live in the Okanagan, everybody, in Seal territory. And so I bring my mom to this class to work with the grade 7, 8, 9 class at Vernon Community School. And I say, this is my mom, Mrs. Schnellert. And they're all like, hi, Mrs. Schnellert. And she goes, I'd love to, I'm here. Oh, she's like, I'm here because I need your help. You have never seen a more confused group of teenagers. You need our help? Of course, my mom couldn't see it, so she thought she should just keep rolling. Blind joke, yeah. Anyway, she goes, do you have any questions for me? What do you wonder? So kids raise their hands. My mom's like, any questions? They're like, she's like, do you have your, anyway, we worked through it. They asked some questions. Their first question was like, what was Dr. Schnellert like when he was a kid? She said, about like he is now. Unavailable. Yeah, exactly. No one else has been guilted by their parents in front of their students. Bring in your parents, people. Bring in your parents. Anyway, she's like, finally we get to like, what's your problem? So she's like, here's my problem. They took back my last guide dog. This is my new guide dog, Dimitri. So sweet, this dog, right? So you're gonna see him in another photo. And she says, I'm very worried because they took back my last guide dog and I couldn't get out. I was shut into my apartment for 6 months because my sons live so far away. My mom's got skills, everybody. And I'm worried they're going to take this one back. And they're like, more hands, more talking, we figured it out. Anyway, the reason is the snow had come, and Dimitri just the week before had taken my mother diagonally across Jasper Avenue. It's the big 6-lane street in Edmonton. Diagonally across because he couldn't find the curb when the snow had come. Because they don't have snow like that in California. And she's like, I'm worried they're going to take this guide dog back too. I need your help. The hands flew up. The negotiations started. And she's like, I'll be back. This is Monday. I'll be back on Friday. I want you to propose some solutions. Anyway, where's Edmonton? Over the mountains? We live in a valley. Like, which way over the mountains? Like, anyway, lots and lots of questions. Anyway, kids worked on their solutions and came back. And my mom came back on Friday, and they proposed their solutions. You with me, everybody? She gave every team feedback, which included no. No, that won't work because of this. No. So the kids were like they were used to like, woo! whoa, your work is amazing. And then she's like, have you been to Edmonton? Anyway, one group had called the local, they found her address and Google Earthed her condo. And so this one group of kids had called the local grocery store to find out if they could deliver groceries or how that worked. And that group presented to my mom. My mom's like, I'm 82. I'm not interested in groceries. I need Starbucks. And the kids were like, and Starbucks was on the other side of Jasper, everybody. You with me? She said, thank you so much for your excellent start. They had been working so hard all week. They're like, excellent start. I'll be back next week. Do better. Everything that Kim, the classroom teacher, and I taught was still the same things we were going to teach anyway. But it was all used. Does that make sense, everybody? In what they made. Friends, can you see how that might connect to what we're talking about? Like literally, it's like, did they feel respected? Yes, they also felt trashed a little bit. But friends, is that also maybe part of respect? I know you can do better. Here's some feedback. Yeah, and? Okay, you want to hear the winning group? Yes. The winning team was a team of 3 kids, including Melissa, who has Down syndrome. The first time they presented, they made like a glittery poster. Like Bijou, the lead child, I think her parents are a doctor and a teacher. And I think I know her parents are a doctor and a teacher. So like she's used to like getting like a really superstar feedback, like woo. My mom's like, I can't see it. And Bijou was just like. So they made a model, right, for the second time. Same thing, same idea. And then Melissa walked my mom through it because Melissa's pace was better. Slower. Also, the third member of the team, who is an ELL learner with math genius, was really frustrated with his group throughout because it wasn't precise enough. They had to disassemble that model like 7 times. His English progressed very fast over 1 week. Like, no, segment, longer, Anyway, the winning thing was they tied a rope to the stoop of my mom's condo building and it went to the street. And so that got my mom out to take the dog to pee and poo. And then once they nailed that down, then it was just adding a segment. Get it with me, math people? A segment over time based on the area to get to the... People, you can't put a piece of rope across Jasper Avenue. Nice try. But it did get them to the light standard with the button to press so they could practice. You with me, everybody? And so, anyway, Bijou was very happy, though, that part of the feedback, or when they figured it out, was that the rope was white and the snow would be white. And so what they figured out is they could get blue sparkly rope. So it really met her needs. She also likes gel pens a lot. Folks, you with me? It's not really, I'm teaching something different. It's just how do I make what I'm teaching connected to something? And then there's ways to get in there that can be helpful. And we also used our talents. Okay. So here's my peeps, everybody. So there's my mom in the top corner. Can you see her? Doesn't she look fantastic? Also, she doesn't live in my home anymore. It's been a great 12 months. She's got a condo up the hill now. And there's Dimitri, who's between us. So Dimitri made it a whole year longer thanks to those kids. And then they retired him early. But they made it through winter. You with me, everybody? It's great for kids to learn that when you do something, it doesn't just make everything perfect. You with me? But it helped us move forward. And then she got Raffia, the next one over. There's my dad on the bottom corner. My dad used to be like the CTV's single picture that they always put up for blind people. And he was the director of the Voice of the Handicapped in Saskatchewan. So many of my memories are when he took the government of Saskatchewan to court so that he and 4 other folks with disabilities could get their degrees at the University of Saskatchewan because they wouldn't permit them in prior to that. He would also, under him in 1979, they took the government of Saskatchewan to court to get curb cuts. And so I have like this real kind of like background. There's my mom making bumpy Uno cards. That's what my nephew calls them, with Braille, right? Bumpy Uno. There's my husband, Trevor. He's a lot as well. Actually, he's quite like, rein it in. Already, he'd be like, not in the room. He'd be like, that was too much already, Leighton. And he was Bonnie Henry's deputy during COVID, many of you know, right? So he was doing the thing. There's our kid, Cam. After a Canucks loss, Cam is now, I was telling Ben Parade, Cam is now 27, almost 28, airplane mechanic. So those of you who've been hearing the stories for the last literally 25 years, also not to be revealed today, but most of you know Cam's mom as well, who's a kick-ass math educator. And then look, there is Shelley Moore, who I taught in grade 8 and grade 9, who sent herself to the office from my grade 9 class. And this is at her PhD defense. And in the middle is her oldest, Meta Leighton. Nobody picked up on that? Meta Leighton? Meta Leighton Yuki, because they found that they were pregnant in Ucluelet. More. And then at the top, I live on Syilx territory. And so in the center, Anona Campi, who you're going to see later in my presentation, took us to harvest tea at a sacred site, Labrador tea at a sacred site. And working with the local knowledge holders, including Anona, we've been gifted with the word tumhulauch. I'm going to get you to try it with me. I'll say it one more time. Tumhulauch. Want to try it? And tumhulauch is one of many words we've been gifted with, which is, we are the land and the land is us. Every word that has to do with land in Insilchin has a letter in it that has to do with people, and every word that has to do with people has a letter in it that has to do with land. So kind of that connection, interconnectedness has been this gift that we've had, which is like, oh, we should just continue to connect what we're doing to the land, because we are the land. And also everything we do to the land is also hurting ourselves if it's not a safe thing. So there's me, that's my identity map. You get a great I have one quote first. Rabbi Daniel Rutenberg says, we need diverse representation, not only so every kid can see themselves as the hero of their story, but so that every other kid can understand that other kinds of kids are also the heroes of their story. So I'm heading us towards not changing kids all to be the same kid, but how amazing are we in our diversity, and how we don't have to change our identities to be heroes, but that's part of our hero-ness. Okay, so here's your job, friends. You do not, oh, it's not moving? That's okay, I feel okay. There we go. Friends, colleagues, frolics, here's your job. Only share what you're comfortable with. But what's something about your identity that makes you the rock star educator that you are? What's something that you bring to your teaching, your uniqueness, that makes you the rock star? Maybe it's where you're from. Maybe you walked 700 miles to school every day in the snow without your shoes. Oh, that was my dad. But what's something you bring that's your Eunice? Not Eunice, but maybe if your name's Eunice, bring that along. That you bring. You're with me, everybody? 3 minutes, talk to the same person. If your person left, just scoop up the next person. Go. Come on back. Meine Freundinnen und Freundinnen. Okay. So, I just want to anchor ourselves now in the First People's Principles of Learning, which predate the curriculum revision. Everybody, does that make sense? The First People's Principles of Learning actually were part of what guided the curriculum revision. And when elders were consulted from across the province, from all of the nations, which is a lot of nations in British Columbia, some of the things, the messages that they wanted us to bring forward were, first of all, that there is no word for disability in any of the Indigenous languages in British Columbia. The word is gift. Everyone has gifts. And so we really want to honor and nurture the giftedness in each child. Secondly, that part of our responsibility if we're welcoming Indigenous ways of knowing is that we have to include opportunities for kids to talk about who they are and who they're becoming. Because we're growing our gifts, and from an Indigenous perspective, we're not trying to make everybody into the same thing, but everybody's got gifts to offer that they're going to offer to the world. And so we're creating those opportunities to talk about, here's what I'm proud of today, here's what I'm interested in, here's where I go. We're still all learning the same thing, but we have to build in opportunities to talk about how it's going for us and what that means and what we're taking with us. And then the last thing, one of the big ideas they offered us was that we have to make sure that we're creating spaces of belonging. Everybody's welcome in the circle, and the time that we put into what we might, in a Western perspective, call social emotional learning is just the expectation that everybody is part of the community and that the children are the future in terms of leadership and opportunity. So cutting across the First People's Principles, the elders brought forward those points, and if you've heard me present before, I present them the same because I present what the knowledge is that's given to me, not my version of the knowledge. There it is in French. You're welcome, 10% of you. If you can't read it, it's okay. All right, so let's bring this home, friends. So across all of these different perspectives around inclusion come these big ideas. And these are just some examples of texts to draw from. The amazing Gloria Ladson-Billings, who talks about often black kids are not taught by black teachers, and so how do we make sure that we're like bringing forth black excellence in everything that we do and communicating to kids that we see their brilliance. Or Sarah K. Ahmed's work around upstanders, or Joe Crona's work, right, that's really connecting anti-racism and Indigenous ways of knowing. Anyway, lots of good stuff. Oh, look, Paul Frere is at the top. Not just reading the word, but reading the world. But across these scholars and these educators doing work, these community leaders in diversity, is that we need to always start from, you've got strengths, you've got interests, what are they? We always lead with strengths and interests. We're going to work on some other things, but we always start with a strength-based perspective, and we always are seeking to receive and communicate that you have strengths. Because if you have a strength, you'll be willing to work on your stretch. But if all you hear is you've got a stretch, you're not going to be super excited to be scooped up and worked on something. Not that I've ever worked on a child in a small group, or like Mr. Schnellert, I probably would have picked this up already if you did something different. And I'm like, but it's a guided reading group, that's what I do. And they're like, yeah, I've been doing it for 7 years. I'm like, what else do you want to do? Can we do something about my grandma? I'm like, yeah, and so we switched to grandmas and skateboarding. This is this kid named Brendan, grade 7. He's like, I just want to write stories about grandmas and skateboarding. I'm like, his literacy flew through the roof because he's like, I know a lot about skateboards. I brought you a magazine, maybe you could learn too. Like, you know with me, everybody? Still a literacy intervention I was doing, but it just was like shifted to like, what are you interested in? Let's build from that. Adjusting what we're doing, that we're focusing on like nurturing growth and identity. Like, how are you growing? What are you learning? How are you growing? Like, it's really this weekly, I do core competency Fridays, everybody. 40 minutes on Friday. Which one of these did you grow in? What's your evidence of that? What's your next step? Like, it's just a practice. Adjusting what I'm doing based on what kids need. And then I'm really trying to work more towards asset-based language and not deficit language. If you ever want to humble yourself, record yourself teaching for 30 minutes. and realize that you think you are diversity positive, and you're like, how many negative words did we don't even realize. Faye Brownlee and I were presenting once in Reno, Nevada. That's a story. Like, people are smoking in the airport, and they're like slot machines as you walk out the gate. But other than that, Faye and I were leaving after our session. This is like 20 years ago now. And she says to me, I really think you should fix your language. I'm like, what do you mean? I am the child of 2 blind people raised in the disability community. I am always positive. And she's like, well, maybe you could not say low kids as much. I'm like, I never say low kids. She's like, 11 times I made a tally. All I want to point out is we're all doing a good job, and we can all tweak what we're doing just a little bit in terms of trying to work with empowering language. Okay, and then we are trying to look at like what we do as a school to have more identity positive work as a school where kids can see their identities in the whole school, right? We're really just trying to be more representative of diversity, and Burnaby has been loving this up for a long time, everybody. I've spent lots of time at Maywood. Maywoodites, are you in the house? They're in the theater, they're smart. Right, and Caribou Hill? Right? I got to spend lots of time at these schools that have these Burn Creek, friends. I learned a lot of new words and a lot of new languages at Burn Creek. It's super cool. But it really helps to be like, those schools have really just committed to, we have a diverse community. And I'm going to take a moment to get a little teary for a minute, but to honor our dear friend Don Blazevich, who's no longer with us, and his work at Taylor Park. Woo, a little emotional. But if you think about the work that Don did in his grade 2 class, it was always about, what do you wonder now? Add that to your raindrop. Because they were doing water studies. And now what do you wonder? It was always about everybody's wondering all the time. And those kids in that class, we'd be out for coffee, and kids who were like, well, they weren't kids, they were like 26 or 22 probably. They're like, oh, Mr. Blazevich, I remember my raindrop. Look, this kid is like 6'2", 250 pounds. I remember my raindrop, Mr. Blazevich. But it just remembers how the way that we engage with kids, if we do it in a way that's all about growing and what's next, it builds in them this wondering about what's coming and what's next. Okay. Peeps in the house, maybe you're coming to my breakout session. Maybe you weren't, but you are now. There's a lot of room in the theater, and the seats are much more comfortable than in here. If you're in the theater, save your seats. But there are approaches that we know really well that just lend themselves to inquiry-oriented teaching, that increase engagement, that help kids feel like they're making a difference. They're basically open-ended. And so I just honor the fact that we're already doing this work, but we probably could lean into maybe one of these. And I don't know about you, but some things fell off the teaching map during COVID. Anybody else? You're like, I used to do this. I forgot I even did it. So maybe that's also just a little bit of a reminder of, oh, maybe I should bring back the centers and stations. Maybe I should pull out the manipulatives, or maybe I could go to Leighton's session in the next session after the break around inquiry and thinking about drawing out some inquiry from my kids. If you teach grade 2, you're welcome, even if it says grade 4 to 12. Okay. A couple things before I offer us a closing example or two. If you know me, you've seen this version in every book I've written, and there are a few now. You're wondering, how does Leighton talk his publishers into using the exact same thing? And different? I'm like, I just make it look slightly different and change the title. But the practice I always engage in is I'm like, words that describe me. Serious. Low-key. Kids are like, oh, Mr. Schnellert. Dad jokes. Excited. Hands everywhere. My favorite books are stories. What do you like to read? That includes like skateboarding magazines. Things I like to do with my friends. Super helpful to hear what they like to do with their friends. Things I like to do if I'm alone. This works well except for maybe sometimes 14-year-old boys. who are honest and don't realize they don't need to be that honest with me. And I'm like, I just move past. And then things I like to do with my family, I have learned so much about kids and what they like to do with their families that I had no idea that was their interest. Right? Their faith communities, they like to go hunting, they like to speak Spanish every Sunday night. People, I'm just building my practice. In a way, it's kind of like the kids are the curriculum as much as the curriculum is the curriculum, friends. I'm trying to bridge them together. I'm interested or good at, that's how I find who helps me with technology. Things I like to know about me. Carolina Gonzalez said, if I start speaking Spanish loudly, I need a break. Guess what happened in Art 8? Carolina, I think you need a break. Out she went. Best choice ever. Because she just knew what she needed. My hopes and dreams, I think I've talked about Augustine in this district so much. I was teaching Augustine in grade 5-6. I was his support teacher, partnering with Nicole, his classroom teacher. Had a really great grade 5 and 6 years. His family had just come from Fiji. Then I was working at the secondary school as a support teacher. Grade 8, he missed about a third of grade 8. Combination of suspensions and things going on. And then we got him in grade 9, me and Linda. And he says, I want to be a pilot. And Linda and I looked at each other and thought, I'm not sure. Like, you don't come to school. And when you do, it doesn't go so well. Friends, you ready for it? Guess what Augustine does today, everybody? He's a pilot at the same airline that my kid is an airplane technician. It just reminds me not to shut down the dreams of kids and to be more like, let's just see how we can help you get there. Whether he gets there or not. Like many a child in grade 7, particularly of one gender, want to be a veterinarian. Like, I'm not sure that all 16 of you are going to be veterinarians, but I'm going to work with that right now. Because I want to, you with me, everybody? I want to build from what you're interested in. Okay, I also asked them, like, what are you worried about? I hear a lot about spiders and snakes. So many snakes in Burnaby. Like, they're just crawling through the classroom. You're like, you're right, we will keep our eye out. But kids also share things like disappointing my parents, my Opa passing away. Like, it just, I want them to know I'm there for them. I also let them know if they share something that I need to share with someone else, I will. Right? I'm not going to hold something that needs to be shared with the counselor or the principal. They need to know that I'm going to help take care of them by doing that work. There we go. And then Shane Severe, who's going to play up in the next slide or two, she's got these empathy interviews that she does where she just sits down with kids that she's just not sure what's going on for them because they're so quiet. And she just is like, what's working for you in our class? Kids are really good at saying your jokes. That's what they say to me. Your jokes are really working on Mondays. What can make school more fun? How do we engage with kids so that they're part of deciding where we need to go? It's usually little small tweaks. So we can't go to the mall every day for Slurpees. No one has ever had a class that asked them for that? No. But we can go once. All right. I'm going to bring us back to just a couple closing examples. One is just, I want to bring us back to all the work you've done as a district, a lot with Miriam Miller around social emotional learning. And that we know that, that beginning piece I opened with is that we know that creating classrooms that are well managed and there are good routines, participation routines, kids connect more to school and it has an impact in outcomes. But we also know if we explicitly teach the core competencies related to SEL, we explicitly teach them in our classrooms, it doesn't just impact our classrooms, it helps kids outside of school be able to be upstanders and say no and say, I'm leaving this party, or I think my friend needs to leave this party, or that's not okay to do on the playground, or in the hall, or maybe you should put out the fire you just started in the bathroom. But when we directly teach the core competencies in whatever we're doing, it's more likely that kids will enact them, not just with us, but in the world. Also, the results in better academic achievement too. So just putting that out there. Okay. Melissa Burdock does work. Teaches grade 8. She does work on Mondays. They have an opening circle with some kind of focus. Their theme of that week was joy. And at the end of the week, they have a closing circle. How did it go? Did you get some joy? Where are you at with your joyness? How could you get more joy? But how do we think about engaging with our kids in ways where we collect them all together and we also end in a way that's like, because sometimes the weekend is not great for some kids. So how do we end on that note? Wow, I can't wait to see you next week. Okay. There's this term that you probably heard different equity communities share, nothing about us without. It actually comes from the disability community, everybody. In 1998, nothing about us without us. And so you'll also be noticing a real attempt in what I'm sharing with you right now to hear from our kids, particularly our kids with the most diversity, that are at least like us, to say, what could we do? We do a lot of changing for kids without the kids ever knowing what we're doing. Anybody? I made this change for you and it's not working. So no one's ever yelled that to a child in their class. Just in my head. I'm doing this for you and you are on the ground right now. So how can kids be part of the changes that will work for them? How can we ask them to make plans with them instead of doing it for them? Anybody who's ever written or seen a social story, the best impact I've had with a social story is when the kid writes the social story with me versus me writing the social story for the kid. They're part of coming up with the solution for the challenge. I've also done full class good path, bad paths. If we throw things, what will happen? If we don't throw things, what will happen? Slurpees. At the end of the term. Oh! If I didn't sneak it in earlier, I'm really helping my kids with disabilities see that they're whole people. That their disability is part of their identity, and it's a great thing. It's a gift. And if there's anything my parents have taught me, it's that they wished they had received more positive messages about who they are. Because they kick ass, my folks, people. My dad's passed now. But they kick butt. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. Sorry. But there continues to be this misunderstanding with all of my parents' siblings, where and people in our faith community, where my mom calls them the charity friends. I'm like, Mom, why don't you go out with Grace? And she's like, oh, well, Grace is a charity friend. She doesn't want to hang out with the charity friend who thinks less of her. She wants to hang out with a friend who's like, we're going cross-country skiing. My mom, that sounds terrifying. Let's go. You with me, everybody? How do we not think less of, but how do we think of kids as whole and capable in ourselves, particularly if we have disabilities? Okay, I won't get into this one heavily, everybody, but we did some work with the BCTF. It's Sherry Brown from BCTF, Shelley, myself, and Jackie Speck from Ontario, just around collecting the research around when we have inclusive classrooms and we welcome diversity in a positive way, it has a pulling up effect, academically, socially, but also in terms of in the community, in terms of employment. If everybody leaves saying, I can get a job, guess what? They're probably going to go get a job. But if the message is, you probably can't do that, guess what you think? I can't do that. And so we're just thinking about communicating those messages to everybody, not some kids. And in my experience, this is your UDL advertisement. Hey, Joanne. My UDL advertisement is, if it's good for some, it's probably good for everybody. And we have a lot of kids who go into math science first-year university and fail. Some of you are them. You did really well in high school math and science, you went to university, it didn't go so well, and you became a history teacher. Sorry, was that too personal? What do we know? Our math, science, loving future kids need a whole lot of support in their metacognition and their study skills, so when they get to first-year university, they have an idea what to do and not just be like, I'm amazing. It's like, yes, you're amazing, and you need some skills. Okay, here's my closing example. I know you couldn't wait for it. This is in Syilx territory. Here comes the story. These are my teaching partners. Ashley Watson is the classroom teacher, and Bonnie Lynn Donovan is an Indigenous community member who Vicky knows really well. So here we go. We've been reading in our book club Joe Cronus book, and we just finished reading Shane Saphir's Street Data, and we're like, we need to do something that's more engaging with the kids. And so we said, how do we connect this to the local knowledge system? In particular, there's a concept called Enalchenwich, which is every voice matters. And so we thought, and also the importance of reciprocity and taking care of your place. And so we thought, how can we do that? So me and Ashley sat down and planned, and we came up with an overarching unit question. How are living things interconnected? And it was our question for the second half of the year. From February to June, that was our question, and everything we tried to come back to it. We had a Nona Campi, local knowledge holder, come in and teach us the foundational story of the 4 food chiefs. It's one of the major foundational stories of the nation. And the story is basically everybody has a role to play. Saskatoon has a role to play. Salmon has a role to play. Barrie has a role to play. And get ready for it, everybody. Fly, annoying fly, has a role to play. And so with this foundational idea that we all are interconnected, we all have a role, and that's called a chaptich in Tsiltsin. And so they're the stories that hold that knowledge, these traditional stories. There's a Nona. Then we had kids bring out, this is grade 4-5, we had kids bring out their book bins. Yes. And in their book bins, there's what's an important story to me? What do I have in my book bin? And we were doing writing workshop with that class. So every book bin has one book written by the kid themselves in their book bin that they get to reread. And if you look really carefully, some kids' stories are in other kids' book bins because they're reading other kids' stories. So we're already in we bring stories to our work. Then we read I Know Here. Who knows I Know Here? Oh, yes, friend. So we read I Know Here, which is this beautiful book about this kid who knows the place she's from because she's connected to it, but she's moving away. So after the book, we went to what's a special place for you? And then we went to what's special about the land the school is on? And then what are the living things here? And then how are they connected? We just started to build this idea. People are taking photos. Now I'm in the good part. Last chance. Click, click, click. Vicky's getting it. Wait for your elders. Yes. Okay, then we did some vocabulary development where we said, what are 24 words that are the main words of this unit that kids might not be familiar with? The sciencey words? And so we chopped them up, and kids had to take those 26 words or 24 words and create their own categories and create names for those categories. It's like sneaky teaching. They're I'm not sure of this word. Well, take a guess. Where do you think it goes? Well, maybe it goes over here. And it really got us warmed up. And then we gave kids a choice. We used the 10. It's it's on the slide coming up. It's never mind. It's on the bottom slide. So we took a piece from the most awesome ecosystems, a really nice accessible piece of text, and we taught them a strategy to pull out some key ideas. So we started to learn about ecosystems, and we already were familiar with the vocabulary. Oh, in partners with clipboards. Clipboards are very important to grade 5s. We could do this, or we could do this with a clipboard. Then we got ready to go to the local floodplain. So before we went, we're what might we find at the floodplain? What animals are endangered there at the floodplain? And then how can we get ready for a visit? So we did a get ready, do done, everybody, which is how can we go to this place to learn? And then we got on a bus. I was very popular on the bus. I want to sit with Dr. Schnellert. No, I'm sitting with Dr. Schnellert. Nobody sat with me on the way back. And then we got to the floodplain, which is a Sealch-led restoration site. They're restoring the floodplain to bring back the local things. Basically, my story, everybody, is find a local important place and go back to it more than once. So we learned from a local scientist, way more interesting than Dr. Schnellert, about all the endangered species and how they're interconnected there. We took a look around to see what we could find. We opened up some boxes to see if there were animals and bugs in there. And we learned about the symbiotic relationships between different plants and animals with each other. And then we planted some showy milkweed. Does anybody know what the symbiotic relationship is with the showy milkweed? The monarch butterfly. And the monarch butterfly is going extinct. And the kids were like, no. And he's like, yes, but we can help bring them back if we plant some showy milkweed. Good answer, everybody. So here we are planting. And then we wrote about what we learned. This is on the bus on the way back. What are species we learned about? What was an exciting event that we had? What have we learned about the floodplain restoration? And then we wrote to the researcher. I don't have time to read Harrison's on the far end, but Harrison is that kid who does as little as possible. All the time. He flipped over his page and filled the whole page with his letter to the researcher. Also, the most exciting event for most of them was the dust devil that came up with the wind. And then the dust devil happened. But also they talked about the salmon and the restoration. Then we came back to the classroom and kids had a chance to re-represent what they'd learned using loose parts. They just re-represented what they saw and what they learned over the course of a week. There's Harrison in the blue shirt. He's into it, people. So we kept coming back to thinking about what did we learn when we were at the floodplain in our representations. We also brought back some showy milkweed and grew it in the classroom, and kids took it home. And literally, we planted some on the field. And can you look at it growing? People, you can make a greenhouse too. Get a plastic bag and put it on top. So we did some reflection about, like, what do we know about the river? What did we learn about the Chinook? What are they trying to do at the floodplain and trying to show how things are connected? So just that one experience we just kept coming back to over and over again, that place that we've been. Then we did some representing. You know, what did we learn? The species, the life cycle. And then, look at the last one, everybody, the symbiotic relation. I love a 4 square. I love just to fold my paper in 4. But look at our friend on the far side. 4 squares were not enough. Olivia has 16 squares. Because there's a lot of things she has to talk about. Anyway, then we moved into like re-representing using paints. You know, what are we remembering about the endangered species and the interconnections? Then we went back and visited, and we also visited the local hatchery, the seal run hatchery that was just adjacent. Had our tour, took some notes on our 4 square, and then we always reflected on what we were learning to have this anchor piece that we had. We also compared how showy milkweed grows better in the classroom than outside at the floodplain. They're like, we should just bring plastic bags to the floodplain. I'm like, no. But we did learn about the restoration project and how much work it is and how we were contributing to that work. Here's Bonnie Lynn guiding us. Following up, we didn't compare what we learned on the floodplain because we saw our showy milkweed just starting to sprout versus our really tall showy milkweed in the class and started talking about variables that we can control. In visit 3, it was spring and the showy milkweed had grown, and guess what we saw, everybody? A monarch butterfly. How many? 1. And Olivia quietly guided us over to see the monarch. Here we are feeling proud of our work, and we can no longer walk where we work because there's eggs where we used to be before. And someone brought a turtle back, a community member that got lost in the community for us to put back into the floodplain. Here we are planting more native plants in our context, helping in ways that we can. When we think about what we learned that if we return to a place more than once, we really start to care about it and take care of it. We learned that we have to scaffold to get there with the vocabulary and give lots of opportunities to write about meaningful things that you care about because you're going to write so much more. We learned about engaging with community members. We learned about, you remember the showing it in different ways? We wrote about it. We made some loose part stuffs. We painted about it. We did 4 squares. That really helped. But we also learned about if we're learning to take care of the land, we're way more engaged in our learning. I do want to point out that our friend Ethan's grandfather has a greenhouse and had so much expertise to bring us about the greenhouse. We learned from Aubrey that if you sneak home some showy milkweed, your father will help you sneak around the neighborhood and plant it everywhere. We learned from Olivia that 4 squares is not enough. We learned that Jasper, who has the most complex needs in the classroom, was a different kid outside. He was a leader outside. Get out of my way. We need to see if more monarchs are here. And Harrison, who's like, I want to do as little as possible, was like, people need to know about the floodplain. And so I just want us to leave thinking about we can design things with our kids that are connected to our places, where they feel like they can make a difference. And if we engage with ideas or learning in more than one way, we're all going to learn better than if we just use one modality. I hope I've loved you up enough, everybody, to just think about this closing question, which is, how could you explore reciprocity with your kids? We're giving to each other. Where's that chance to help kids feel like they're making a difference? And mostly, how are we bringing diverse voices into the classrooms in terms of what we're doing, even as we think about going out? Because when we do that work, we affirm the diverse identities of our kids as positive strengths and identities. Thanks for hanging out with me. Have a great day.
Oh, is this yours?
Thank you.
Thank you, Leighton, for sharing your experience and research with us and reminding us that one of the most powerful things we can do to transform our teaching is welcome and student voice. Before we all head out for coffee, morning treats, and our morning workshop sessions, I have a few quick announcements and some people I would like to acknowledge. First, I would like to thank and acknowledge the Joint and the BTA Professional Development Committees and our wonderful tech support team for all of their volunteer time and hard work to make this day happen. Big thank you to all the wonderful presenters and co-presenters. I would also like, I would also like to thank the Burnaby North Secondary School for hosting us, to all the amazing student volunteers and staff here who have worked with our committee, for your efforts and sharing of spaces are deeply appreciated. So this is a new building for most of us. QR codes to the maps of this building are posted in the hallways. Also, our wonderful student volunteers will gladly help you find the room you're looking for. We also have a first aid station in the office on the main floor. Workshop names and room numbers are posted outside the gym and are at the information table by the main entrance to the school. Coffee stations are located on the main floor as well as the 3rd and 4th floors. Blaze Burgers pre-ordered lunch will be ready for pickup in the foyer in front of the gym at noon. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful day of learning and collaboration. Thank you, everyone.